It's been about 3 years since we received and reviewed our Aeron remastered chair. And in that 3-year time span, there have been some things that have changed at Herman Miller, and we've also gained a ton of experience using the chair for 3 years. So I'm just gonna give you my honest opinion on what I think of the Aeron after having a chance to use it for so long, and kind of touch on why it is that I can't use this chair as my daily driver, even though this is a chair that I want to love more than any chair that we've ever tested. So just starting out with some of the policy stuff, the price has gone up quite a bit since we last reviewed the chair. I believe it was around $1,300 when we reviewed it last, but inflation is crazy, and so I believe the model fully loaded is about $1,650 right now. So a big price increase. You're still getting the same 12-year warranty with coverage on the entire chair, with reps that will come out and do work if you're close enough to a location. The return policy has changed slightly from Herman Miller. They're no longer as open to taking any returned chair. Before, they would give you 30 days, full refund, pay for return shipping. They wouldn't even require you to have the original packaging. They would send you a box. It's not the case anymore. You have to have the original packaging, and you will be paying that return shipping cost, but they will give you 30 days to try the chair, and they'll give you a free refund after it gets back to them. So slight difference on the return policy. Now, build quality, nothing's changed on the chair in terms of build quality or design. Still the same chair. I still believe that it's one of the most well-made chairs that we've ever tested. Since we reviewed it first, we've had a ton more chairs come through, and I still think that this is at the top of the heap in terms of build quality, overall quality of components, and just the look of the chair. It's just a fantastic looking chair. Now I'll just go through the adjustments on the chair. Nothing has changed on the chair in terms of functionality-wise, but being that I've had a chance to use the chair for 3 years, I'll just kind of touch on my opinion on what I think of all the adjustments. Starting with the seat height. I love the seat height range. I love that they go all the way down to 16 inches, all the way up to 20.5 inches on the tall end. This is going to cover that 95th percentile. If you're a little bit shorter or a little bit taller, you can go with the size A or the size C, which will give you a little bit lower or higher range. So they definitely did a great job of covering almost the entire population with their seat height ranges on their 3 chairs. One thing that I will say about the seat adjustment though, is that it does not have seat depth adjustment. No seat slider, no flex front like the Mira. You are just stuck with the seat size that you get this direction. And this is probably one of the biggest problems on the Aeron, because a huge component of sitting in your chair ergonomically is making sure that you have the proper space from the front seat edge to the back of your legs. And without having an adjustment to accomplish that, that can become very difficult, because you need to fit the chair instead of making the chair fit you. And you can't do that on the Aeron. And this is probably going to be the biggest miss in terms of adjustments, in my opinion, because it's just not going to fit everyone. It doesn't fit me. I'm a very average sized person, 5'9", 180 pounds, and I would prefer that the seat was even a little bit deeper. So if you're taller than me, the problem is just going to get accentuated the taller that you get until you get into the size C. So definitely a big miss, in my opinion, with that one adjustment. Switching over to the arms, I love the arm adjustments on the Aeron. I never ever had a problem getting the arms into a comfortable position for me, no matter how I was using the chair. You can see height range, they go very low, out of the way if you want. I can let my arm hang and it's not touching. And they also go very high. Then you get a massive depth range, as well as a big pivot range that, in my opinion, also serves as a width range. So the Aeron gets a little bit of hate from people because it doesn't have 4-way arms, and people complain that they're not as adjustable as the Gesture or the Leap. They're not, but in my opinion, they are plenty adjustable for almost anyone in any application. And so not having that 4th adjustment is not a huge miss, in my opinion. Looking at the way that the chair reclines, you're going to get 3 limited positions. So it doesn't have tilt lock where it just locks you like in this position, but it will limit the range, and you'll get 3 ranges. So you can lock it fully upright, the middle position I just showed, or give it the full range. And I actually like the limiter a little bit better than tilt lock. I don't like just having to sit in one stagnant position. I like having my range limited and then just going back and forth. Another way that you can do this on the Aeron is with the tension control. If you just want to leave it fully open, which is the way I use the chair, like this, and then you just dial in the tension for however far back you want to go, the tension is so responsive that it's really easy to dial it in. On the previous Aeron, it would take you probably 40, 50 turns to feel a noticeable difference. On this Aeron, 2-3 turns, and you can feel a noticeable difference in the tension. If you're a fan of forward seat tilt, it does have that option. I hate this function, and no one in our office uses it. But if you're a fan of this, then it does have this available. The one thing that I do love the best in terms of the recline is the actual recline motion. So it's not like a straight synchro tilt, It's more of a rocking motion, but the motion is so fluid and so smooth, and it keeps you in this nice, perfect ergonomic position through the entire recline, that for me, this is the #1 attraction with the Aeron, is just the simple recline, because it's just so easy to use, so effortless, and it really makes you just want to move around in the chair, and it's one of my favorite features on the Aeron. Flipping over, looking at the lumbar support, you can see the Aeron actually has 3 options for lumbar: no lumbar, height adjustment, or the Posture Fit SL like we've got here. Now this system is very unique because it covers a very vertical range, all the way down to your sacral region, up to your mid-back, and you can dial it in a little bit, but it doesn't have any height adjustment. One thing that I will say about this lumbar system is it's not super pronounced and does not provide a ton of support for those of you that really like accentuated lumbar. So I'm someone that likes very little lumbar support. I actually like to use the Aeron with no lumbar support at all. And this is very nice for me. I like the Posture Fit SL, but for other people in our office that wanted a more pronounced feeling, this didn't do it for them. So if you're someone that likes a more pronounced lumbar support, this may not be the best option for you. Aside from the seat depth adjustment, the next thing that is the biggest miss on the Aeron and the #1 complaint in terms of adjustability is that the chair does not have a headrest. You cannot add one from Herman Miller. They just simply do not provide that option, and the reason being is that they don't believe that a headrest is needed to make a chair ergonomic. They believe that if your head and neck is supported by the backrest, you don't need a headrest. So if you want a headrest on the Aeron, you're going to have to go aftermarket and get one from Engineered Now or Atlas, which is going to be another $150, $200. Now I'm just going to touch a little bit on the comfort of the chair, what I love about the Aeron, and the couple reasons that prevent it from being my daily driver, everyday chair. So we'll start out with what I like the best in terms of comfort, and that is going to be the recline function. We've touched on this earlier, but the smoothness, let me unlock it. The smoothness of the overall recline and the feeling that you get from the Aeron, which is unlike any other chair, really increases the overall comfort of the chair, in my opinion. Just this smooth, classic reclining rocking motion is something that you're not going to find on other chairs, and I really love that about this. The next thing that I really love in terms of comfort is going to be these armrests. So we touched on the adjustability, which is great, but the pad itself is phenomenal. So it's large, you get a lot of space, no hard edges, and they are super soft. Probably the softest arm pads that we've tested. So soft that you can just dig the point of your elbow right into the arms, and it's not uncomfortable at all. So super comfortable arm package here. Moving on to the seat, we touched on the fact that the seat doesn't have any depth adjustment, which, like I said, is a big miss, and it kind of forces you to fit the chair instead of having the chair fit you. But something else to think about is just the overall design with kind of the side bolsters, the raised edges here, as well as the hard outside edge all the way around. You're really kind of limited in terms of the space that you have to sit in the chair. You can't sit cross-legged or get your legs outside here, and you have to kind of sit straight forward in perfect posture, which makes sense. That's how they want you to use the chair, but let's be honest, that's not how a lot of us want to use our chair. And so the inability to move, the lack of any flexibility with this rigid frame, when we're seeing chairs like the Leap, the Gesture, the Fern having flexible frames, is very noticeable. And this is one of the biggest reasons why I can't use this chair for longer than an hour or two at a time. The mesh is comfortable, but it is a firm sit. So if you don't like a firm seat, then this might be a deal breaker for you as well. When looking at the backrest, it's similar vibes to the seat. You get high-end mesh, you sink into it, it's comfortable. I'm a fan of the lumbar support. Like we talked about, it's not super pronounced. That might be a deal breaker for you. But the back doesn't have any flexibility just like the seat. And so one thing that I love to do in my chair is to just kind of recline to this halfway point and then kind of stretch out. I'll stretch my legs and I'll move. You can't do that on the Aeron. It is so rigid and so firm that doing this is just uncomfortable because my arms and my shoulder blades touch this hard plastic, which is uncomfortable, and you're not getting any freedom of movement. And so that's probably going to be the biggest deal breaker for me in terms of not being able to use this chair for extended periods of time, the lack of flexibility, and the seat design. So after 3 years with our Aeron Remastered, the one thing that we've learned at BTOD is that this is a very polarizing product. For those of you looking to sit for 6-8 hours a day, we've found that you're either going to love this chair or you're going to hate this chair. So that's definitely something to keep in mind when shopping for the Aeron. If you're looking for more information on office chairs, check out this video.